Well, we know that there are some overhyped teams in the NFL right now, but which teams are being overhyped in particular? Let's rock, and I'll go over my list. Let's talk football. What's going on, guys? My name is Antonio, and welcome back to the All Around Sports Podcast. Today, we are going over my top five overhyped teams going into the NFL season. Now, as we all know, there's some teams that are getting a little too much hype. Some of them I have talked about in their manner, and some of them I have been kind of explaining this all along. So, I have a list set up here. But before we get started, if you guys do enjoy this video, please be sure to smash that like button down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. I am trying to aim for 375 subscribers before the season starts on September 5th, which is only about a few days away. I am currently, as I make this video, at 346. So if we can get 29 more subscribers, then we would hit that margin. But remember, it's free, so be sure to like and subscribe. But, anyways, without further ado, let's get into the video. Before we get started into the top five, I have three honorable mentions that I left just outside of this list. So, first up is the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons, I believe, are going to be better than they were, but not specifically in the contention area of the division. Because, as I mentioned in the video that we'll be posting out later on in today, they are just there's still a lot of questions surrounding the Atlanta Falcons on if they're going to still be good. So, and right now, pretty much Tampa Bay is right now right there in the race with the NFC South with the Atlanta Falcons. But next honorable mention I wanted to throw out there is the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins, they are an amazing squad. I'll give them that. But when you cannot play in cold weather environments and you've lost the last two playoff appearances you've been there due to cold weather, I'm sorry, but you got to be able to withstand the elements before we put you into the contender spot. I'm talking right specifically to one person, a Miami Dolphins fan that also is a YouTuber. But then, lastly, another honorable mention I left just outside is the Texans. Although I have this team as a top three team in the in the AFC, we still pretty much need to see it first because the Texans, they are amazing. The first time they caught my attention was when they beat the Bengals, which I was pretty surprised on. And then they not only went on to beat many teams and shock everybody, but they also went on to win their division, and the Jaguars were pretty shocked about that. Anyways, that those are my honorable mentions, but for now, let's get into the top five. Coming in at number five, I was one of the people that was overhyping this team, just as a FYI. You got the Tennessee Titans. Now, the Titans, although they are relatively talented, this team still needs to show up because Will Levis is still just a rookie. Although he's coming into his second year, he still needs to show us that he is the guy because Ryan Tannehill is still out in the market. And I do believe he might go to Minnesota. We're still waiting on that quarterback situation. But the Titans, their defense has been somewhat medium for the last few years. And especially with firing Mike Vrabel, which I think shouldn't have happened. I think they should have kept with Mike Vrabel. I do see potential in this Titan squad, but I just don't see that they're right up there in the contention race as of now. But, anyways, that's why I have the Titans at number 5. At number 4, this team is always overhyped every single year and has been for the last 20 something years and counting. They have not made an NFC Championship appearance since 1996. You got the Dallas Cowboys, one of America's biggest jokes. But anyways, the Cowboys, this team is just being way too overhyped in this situation because the Cowboys, they are currently in contract disputes with CD Lamb, which Jerry Jones had stated himself that it's not that big of a deal.
Huh?
I'm sorry, but CD Lamb is your best player on offense right now. The only other guy that leads in receptions is Jake Ferguson. If you let Lamb walk, you're pretty much just some sacrificing yourself to become the Panthers, pretty much, if you ask me. But anyways, the Cowboys after they got beat down in the wild card round to the Green Bay Packers, which not a lot of people expected that beatdown. But the Cowboys, they just lost a lot of weapons. They lost guys like Tyron Smith, Tony Pollard, Michael Gallup, including Jonathan Hankins to my Seattle Seahawks, Darius Armstrong, and also along with Stephon Gilmore. This team lost a lot of key pieces, and they made more releases than they did signings. They say they're all in, but really, the right term for it is they're all in to make a playoff choke again. They're all in to make another playoff choke. But the Cowboys always are overhyped, but they're being beyond overhyped in this situation. But that's why I have the Cowboys at number 4. Coming in at number 3 is a team that is known as currently right now a Super Bowl contender. But I just think they're being beyond overhyped in this situation. The New York Jets. The Jets, as some people call them. This team has been the definition of mediocrity for years. They have not made a playoff appearance since 2010, which was the last time that Aaron Rodgers actually played in a Super Bowl. And they've gone 8 straight seasons with having a losing record. And just because, and I know their defense is good, but just because you bring in Aaron Rodgers doesn't mean you automatically jump up into that category. I'm sorry, but you're the Jets. You're the Jets. How do you tell me that the Jets are a Super Bowl contender when they have been one of the most terrible, mediocre, irrelevant teams in the past century? They have not made a Super Bowl since the year 1969 when Joe Namath was their quarterback. This team is just being beyond overhyped because Aaron Rodgers, the fact is, the last time that he had an MVP caliber season was the last time he made an NFC championship game, which was the 2020 season where he lost to the GOAT Tom Brady and the Bucks. But this team is just being beyond overhyped in this situation. So that's why I have the Jets at number 3. At number 2 is a team that has been said in the division to be ahead of my Seattle Seahawks, which I ain't buying one dang bit, especially when you're a part of the Death Valley, as some people like to call it. You got the Arizona Cardinals. Now, the Cardinals I put up high because they were said to be put ahead of the Seahawks, which I think is just bonkers. But can we calm down on the guy Marvin Harrison Jr.? I mean, it's not like he's Jerry Rice. He doesn't have championship rings. I mean, come on. People are overhyping this guy. And especially when you got a quarterback by the name of Kyler Murray, who has only made one playoff appearance in his entire career, which was only 2 years ago. Are you really going to go out there and tell me that the Arizona Cardinals are ahead of the Seattle Seahawks? The Seahawks have been ahead of the Cardinals and have won 5 straight against them. The Seahawks have absolutely pummeled on the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are just being beyond overhyped to be ahead of the Seahawks. Now, if they're ahead of someone, maybe it's the Rams because the Rams still have a lot of questions on their side. But you can't tell me that they're ahead of the Seahawks. I mean, their quarterback is 0-1 in the playoffs. And the last time that this team made a Super Bowl run was when Kurt Warner was your quarterback that won a Super Bowl with the Rams a few years prior. And San Antonio Holmes pretty much broke every heart of every Arizona Cardinals fan. But this Cardinals team is just atrocious. Their offense, sure, it's better, but they're not ahead of the Seahawks. I'm sorry, but do you have DK Metcalf, JSN, Tyler Lockett, K9, Charbonnet, Fant, Westover, or Barner? I'm sorry, but I don't think you do. The only weapons they have are James Conner, and also along with now Marvin Harrison Jr., and also a few Kyle McBride or Kyler McBride, or I don't know exactly his first name. Tyler McBride. I'm not sure. But, anyways, this Cardinals team is just being atrociously overhyped. So that is why I have them at number 2. At number 1 of the most overhyped teams going into the NFL season, I debated this one a few times on my channel. I have talked about this team because they have been very relatively decent, but their offense has been trash since a Hall of Famer quarterback left. And this team, with 2 losing quarterbacks in the last 3 years, I just don't see that there's a point that this team cannot have a losing season. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, let me explain. The Steelers, let me go over some stats here on the guy known as not Kyle Shanahan, Arthur Smith. Where was it? Here it is. So Arthur Smith has said to be over Matt Canada. I'm sorry, but I don't fully trust that. Let me to show it. Let me go over some stats here. Win and loss records. I base this off of wins and losses, and also along with the ranked offense they had. They Arthur Smith's total win loss record as a head coach in Atlanta, 21-30. Matt Canada, 40, 29, and 1. He has gone 19 games better than Arthur Smith. That's number 1. And then total ranked offense from last year. The offense for Arthur Smith, which was under the Atlanta Falcons as an FYI, was ranked 17th in the league, and they also had the 11th ranked defense as well, and for some reason still went 7-10. Then Matt Canada, he had the Steelers alone had the 26th ranked offense in the National Football League. This and Arthur Smith had a higher offense and still had a losing record. And the Falcons defense was ranked 11th in the NFL. Name me one team other than the Falcons that have the 17th ranked offense and the 11th ranked defense that somehow goes 7-10. No team that I know of has ever done that. And last point I'm going to make, quarterbacks worked with. Now, this is each quarterback that each of the coaches has worked with in the last few years. Arthur Smith has worked with Matt Ryan, Marcus Mariota, Desmond Ritter, and Taylor Heineke. Matt Canada, He worked with the Hall of Fame, soon to be Hall of Famer Ben Roethlisberger. Then Mason Rudolph, which is now known as Rudolph the Red-Nosed Titan now. I think he personally should have stayed with them. Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky, who the Steelers actually lost to in their preseason game, and they didn't even score a single touchdown. I mean, that is atrocious in the highest order. But the Steelers, they are being beyond overhyped in this specific situation because the fact is that the Steelers could be in jeopardy of going on a losing season. Russell Wilson, he has been a total in the last 3 years 17 and 27 losing record from the last 3 years, including his last year in Seattle. Then also and then Justin Fields, he's even worse because he was 10 and 28. Now, I know people are pointing to these two as relatively better quarterbacks, but let me go over some stats from that preseason game as soon as I could find it. As soon as I could find it. Come on. Sorry, guys. But here, let me go over some stats on the quarterbacks. Find them. See, Steelers. Here we go. So let me go over some stats to all those people that might give an argument with me. In the preseason game, week two preseason against the Bills, posted up a total of 3 points, which was led by Justin Fields. And then let me go over the stats on each of the players. Justin Fields was 11 of 17 for a total of 92 yards. And then Russell Wilson, he was 8 and 10 for 47 yards. Neither of them had a single touchdown, but neither of them had an interception either. But this team, now, if you want to tell me that the Steelers defense can be number one in the NFL in scoring defense, and the offense doesn't even have to lift a finger to score points, then absolutely, sure, they can be a good team. But when you have one of the most atrocious offenses in the NFL, you cannot tell me this is highly likely for them to make a playoff spot, especially since they play in the hardest division in the NFL. And to note, the Steelers, they have been atrocious for years, but they have never had a losing season under the coach known as Mike Tomlin. This Steelers team needs to show up. And the free agent markets they got of receivers have a total, and that is Cordell Patterson and also along with Quez Watkins. Did you know they have a total of 3 touchdowns combined? Which Cornell Patterson didn't even catch a dang pass. And also didn't even score a single touchdown. And that was Arthur Smith that was calling that offense in Atlanta. He's just been atrocious. Now, I know people are pointing back to his years in Tennessee, but Tennessee is not Atlanta. And Atlanta is right now Pittsburgh. And I will actually be calling the first week game against the Steelers and the Falcons. So I'll be doing a live play-by-play of that. So I might be right in this circumstance. But we'll see what ends up happening. But the Steelers are the number one overhyped team in the National Football League. Let me know in the comments what you guys think down in the comment section below. What team do you guys think is being massively overhyped? But let me know down in the comment section below. But I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please make sure to smash that like button down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'll catch you all in the next one. Ciao for now.